Alright everyone, this is Stammeron and welcome back to another video on the channel that's all about stammering, stuttering and everything in between. So for this video I'm going to be talking about university and specifically what support is available in university for people who stutter and what more could be done. And for this I'm not the expert here, and I'm going to be talking to my friend Clara who runs an organisation called STUC, and I've mentioned this before in previous videos, and I would love to bring her in to kind of talk more about what she does and the work she does, and what more she feels could be done in universities. I'm going to get straight into the conversation because we spoke for a while. However, if you want to see more stuff like this, please leave a like, leave a comment and subscribe for more. And okay, let's get into it. So first of all, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! First of all, would you like to introduce yourself and introduce STUC as a whole?
Of course, thank you very much for having me. So, my name's Claire, and I'm the founder and director of STUC, otherwise known as the Stammerers Through University Consultancy. It's an initiative that I set up nearly 7 years ago, back in 2014, with a view to being able to help people at university who stammer. So even if they're staff or students or personnel, I basically aim to be able to offer a service to anyone within a university capacity who stammers, really, just to offer support that they may need and be able to advise the university that they go to or work at to look at the support that they offer and to ensure that it's offered in the best ways and that actually the best support can be offered to them. However, it very much depends on the university. So some of the universities I work with already have a lot of support in place, and it's just more a case of being able to advertise it to those who would be benefiting from it. But also there are other universities I work with where it's the staff and the students who come to me and say, I'd really like my university to be part of this initiative because I stammer and I feel like my university isn't giving me the support that I really need.
And what's the response been from the universities which you've approached? Because obviously you're going up to a university and being like, oh, and I'm being like, okay, I've been told you're not doing well enough. How can I help? Do they take that well, or is there?
So I do try to word it in the best way possible, but definitely the universities' responses are, on the whole, very, very positive. There have been times when I've reached out to universities, not because someone has got in touch with me, but just because I want to try to push STUC out to as many universities as I can. And so at times when I've reached out to introduce STUC and to ask if they'd be interested in getting on board, more often than not, universities have come back to me saying that they don't have any students or staff there who stammer, therefore I can't help. And to put it lightly, that response rather pisses me off, if I'm honest.
Yeah. The odds of that being true are, I would say, virtually impossible.
Exactly. And that sort of brings us back to the age-old question of, do people who stammer see it as a disability? Do they feel that they are in a position to ask for help in a university capacity, and do people who stammer actually want to come forward and say, I stammer, I'm going to need help here? Because lots of people who stammer feel so much stigma and shame surrounding it, and so they may understandably feel that they're not yet ready to put their hand up and say, I've got this problem, please can someone help me? And even then, it does take the university to say, oh, actually, we understand that the way that we offer support, or that the way that certain things are assessed for certain modules and courses actually hinder those who have a speech and difference. And so it's definitely a two-pronged approach, but also given that between 1 to 3% of people in the UK stammer, that means that on average there are about 300 to 400 people at every university who stammer on average. And so the fact that universities are saying that they don't have any stammerers on campus suggests that either they're not reaching out to those people to say that we actually offer support for you, so please feel free to come to us. And it also suggests that maybe people on campus aren't yet ready to come forwards and say that they want help. Mm-hmm. And I think also, like, given all the focus groups that I hold with the university that I work with, there are lots of staff there who stammer too. And actually, when I first started STUC, I never would have thought that people who stammer could just easily give lectures and things like that to hundreds of students. It would absolutely petrify me. But lots of people do, and they just put their stammer to one side and just think, screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And then and being able to also help staff who I thought were pretty ballsy themselves for being able to and do these lectures. Actually, they said to me in these focus groups that they're too scared to go to and team meetings, and that they don't want to and go for promotions and other things like that, because they don't want to be seen by their peers as being incapable or less intelligent. And I think, again, it's just being able to work towards undoing the myths that the media has built up over the last few decades. And I think that even if and STUC can help change how a few students do in their university and degree course, or how universities look at how they offer support or how they assess certain modules, if I can just change and something small, then I would have made a difference to someone. And that's what I aimed to do, really, just to make as small changes from the outside, but to the people themselves, those are huge changes.
Mm-hmm. With the universities you have been working with, like, have you seen any kind of positive changes, like with the ones where you have spoken to them and kind of implemented new?
Yeah, definitely. So I currently work with 16 universities nationwide, and we've had schemes such as student unions offering speech and language therapy societies who actively go to talk to people who stammer, to not only help the people who stammer to give them someone to talk to, but to also help those who are actually studying speech therapy at the university, and to be able to understand more about stammering itself, which in turn will also make them better and better speech therapists. And also at a couple of universities, they have actually set up student mentoring, where a staff who stammers will be mentoring a student who stammers, just to give them someone to share anecdotes with, and to also just to let them know that they aren't on their own, basically. So that's just two of the ways that STUC has helped, which is really, really good to hear.
Oh yeah, I love that idea, like of having, like, you called it mentoring, but I guess it could also just be like a kind of buddy system.
Yeah,
of like you
absolutely.
have another person like who stammers, who you can talk to, who you can go to, which is really nice. And I love the working with SLT students as well. Like, because I think on like the standard like kind of speech and language therapy course, they maybe get one module on stammering, if that. Like, so like having contact with people who stammer, I think, is really, really valuable. And I've spoken at like a couple of like the UCL International Stuttering Awareness Day events like that they run. And I know that like the Giving Voice Society at like UCL like are really active in kind of being involved with people who stammer, which I think has been really beneficial for them. And I know as well that like the Scottish Stammering Network work with, I think it's Strathclyde University, like, and they go in and talk to their SLT students as well. So like it's great to see like kind of that like the SLT students like are receptive to this and willing to learn and listen. And I think it does help us to move towards a kind of better speech therapy in the future. Like, because I think like from the SLT's perspective, like there is almost a perception of, as we're pushing for like acceptance and accepting like your stammer and all of that, like they're worried they're going to be out of a job. And that's not the case at all. It's just kind of changing the focus. Like they're absolutely like still very useful and still very needed, but it's about switching up so it's not purely focused on fluency, but it's the whole picture. Like, have you had like any universities like where like it's not taken as well as you wanted it to, and you've needed to kind of push that bit harder?
There have been a couple where I think that they've sort of felt that once they've signed up to STUC, and then they advertise it on their website to say that they're part of it and that they are working towards offering the best support possible, that's their job done. And I think there's just more and trying to sort of get them to understand that even though they can say that they are working towards that, that they need to be able to show that they do. And I understand that universities are basically businesses, and I think that if they are able to offer support and the widespread understanding that they understand the inclusion concepts and the and disability awareness thing on campus, then actually that will have the capability to attract future students who might be looking at their and chosen place to study in the future. And if they show that they're able to offer that, then that might and definitely will rank highly for and sixth form students who stammer, who might be wanting to make sure that they're going to feel included and supported through the next few years of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the important thing. A lot of inclusion stuff at the moment, like there's a danger of universities, of businesses, like everywhere, of just making that performative statement of being like, oh yeah, like we're inclusive, but then not actually doing anything. More than that. So yeah, pushing them to actually make those changes and implement those changes as well is really important. Yeah, I recently had a thing in my work where like I kind of get like shown as like the kind of poster child of, look, like we're inclusive, we have a presenter who stammers. And then I found out that like a colleague who stammered like hadn't been given like a reasonable adjustment he needed, and I found out that there was like a volunteer within the trust who had been told like she wasn't going to get a real job if she didn't fix her stammer. And like, so like, wow, like at the top level, like me, because I don't need any help and because I can go out and present and make them look good, great. However, there are issues further down, which need to get fixed and which still aren't being fixed. So yeah, there's still a lot that can be done, and that's not to say that universities don't have the best intentions, but I think a lot of stuff does fall through the gaps. Okay, everyone, like, thank you very much for watching that. Like, there will be like another part coming out soon, like, because our conversation was that long, and I didn't know what to cut, so I've just cut it into separate bits. So please, like, kind of, if you subscribe to the channel, like, then you will know when that comes out. If there's anything else you'd like to see from this channel, then please let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear that. And I will see you in the next one.